Welcome to Armchair Expert, Experts on Expert. Hi, Monica Padman.
Hi, Dax Shepard.
Today, we're stepping out of our lane a little bit in an exciting way.
Very.
To talk to head coach of the Seattle Seahawks and executive vice president, Pete Carroll. And, you know, why we believe he transcends the sports genre, because you and I aren't necessarily diehard football fans.
I wouldn't say so.
You certainly liked attending those GA games.
Oh, God, yeah, UGA. Get
UGA,
it right.
sorry. And I, of course, have some interest in the NFL. But Pete Carroll is so much more than that. He is, you know, he's virtually one of these organizational psychologists. We learned of all of his interesting strategies when we interviewed Michael Gervais, which people really liked, which was a performance expert psychologist. And he just has some really, really interesting takes on getting organizations to be prolific and achieve their goals. And I think he has an incredible story of perseverance.
I love perseverance.
Success, failure, fired, hired, fired. I mean, he stayed the course.
Through.
Yeah, it's really inspirational. So please enjoy Coach Pete Carroll.
He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert.
Hello.
Hello.
This is kind of intimidating here.
Is it? A couple things right out of the gates. You're incredibly fit. Can I say that? Can we acknowledge that?
You can say whatever you want.
Are you on a specific...
What did you expect?
Well, let me start by, I think the most important thing for me to say and admit is that I know so little about football, it's ridiculous. The reason I was attracted to having you on is simply because I think of your many philosophies that, again, I learned mostly from Michael. My interest in you is more as like an organizational psychologist than per se the game itself, which is not to say I don't like the game.
That's okay.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of knowledge on it. So what I watch is Hard Knocks on HBO, Last Chance U on Netflix. And a lot of these coaches are past their prime. Let's just say that physically. Physically, they're a little heavier. They don't seem to be doing the drills. But you are in incredible shape. That's all I wanted to tip my hat to you.
Working at it.
Do you eat in a specific way? A mindful way?
Yeah, I do. My wife and I were influenced to go plant-based a while back, a couple years ago.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so we've done that and really recognized that it's made a difference, you know, just in feeling well and getting rid of the aches and pains and the arthritis type of feelings that you have, you know, from inflammation, all that. I don't have those anymore. I used to have a lot. I mean, I've got all kinds of stuff that I've done to my body that warrant that kind of response, you know, but I don't feel that stuff anymore.
So are you off animal protein entirely, or sometimes you splurge? Or?
No, I'd figured out a pattern of it, you know, so I still eat eggs and
oh, okay.
But I don't eat meat rarely.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
and then are you getting enough exercise just being out on that field, walking back and forth, doing all that stuff? Or do you have to actually set aside time to do?
I just have a little routine that I do before I go out every day and go out on the field a couple times. I do something before, and that's enough to keep me going with the running around that I do. I make a point of trying to run places and, you know, just keep moving, and I throw the ball all the time, and so I'm active.
I'm going to further embarrass you.
Oh, okay.
Monica, would you agree? Your skin looks so healthy.
It does.
It looks like you're on a plant-based diet. Your skin looks radiant and healthy. Did you know this is mostly a cosmetic show? I don't know if you were warned about that.
Well, thankfully.
Yeah, so you look like you're really doing well.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You were born in 1951, the same year my mother was. And so I'm just looking at how you guys have both run your thing, and it looks great.
Okay.
Now,
Congratulations.
yeah. You grew up in San Francisco?
I was born in San Francisco, grew up in Marin.
What did mom and dad do?
My dad was in the wholesale liquor business for 40 years in San Francisco and had really a great gig. You know,
That's a job that demands some charisma, yeah.
he was a sales manager for the most part and became a VP later on. We had a really interesting setup. They had to serve all of San Francisco. And in that, he had salespeople that had to call on all the different accounts. So he had every background you could ever imagine represented throughout the whole culture of San Francisco. And in Christmas time, he used to take me in the office for one day, you know. It was just such a mixed bag of people, you know.
Yeah.
You know, from Epi Epstein, Pete LaRocca.
Right.
It was an amazing crowd that we messed with. It was a good upbringing.
Unified only in a huge appetite for liquor.
Yeah, exactly.
Because to meet those reps that go bar to bar,
and my
you do a
mom
lot
was
of
such a
drinking.
supporter. She supported so well.
Oh, that's great. As I was reading about you, there's so many themes that are interesting about you that interest me in particular. I mean, one of them, just to announce my thesis statement on you, is what a fine example of failure, success, failure, success, failure, success, and fortitude, and keep going. And I'm far less interested in someone's experience winning a Super Bowl as I am someone who got over a gigantic setback. I think that's the kind of more relatable thing most of us go through. I doubt many of us will hoist that trophy over our head, but most of us will experience pretty significant setbacks, and our fortitude metal will be tested regularly. And I think there's a lot of mental gymnastics that probably go along with that.
Yeah, I've been through the kind of whiplashes, and they really have never affected me negatively at all. They've always kind of strengthened my perspective, and the next step that I take just help in ways that I hate to admit, because I like the other people to learn the hard way. I don't want to learn the hard way, but it's just added to the mentality, really, and made the other aspect of the good things that have happened even stronger.
What's clear in your route, though, I think, is that there were a lot of opportunities for your ego to have prevented you from taking the next best step. And we'll get into it, but I think there's been many moments.
I like you looking at it that way.
Yeah. There's been many moments, I think, where someone with a more raging ego would have said, well, I can't go backwards. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to sit here and wait till I get the thing that I think I'm entitled to get. And I often admire people with some flexibility in the roadmap. And it appears, at least, that you had some flexibility.
There's been some humbling along the way.
Yeah. Well, me too. You don't get into show business and get your ass kicked every few months. But as a kid, you were just a polyathlete. Yeah, you did basketball and baseball and football. But you weren't a big guy, right? In your freshman year?
No. Something happened to me in about 8th grade time when everybody started to grow and things started to come out and pop out and hair and this and all that. Yeah. That didn't happen.
Right.
I missed puberty, Not until really into my sophomore year in high school did I even start moving. I was just a dink when I got to freshman year. And up until that time, I had always been able to do everything. And I could play everything and be one of the best guys at everything I was doing. And all of a sudden, I wasn't strong enough and I wasn't fast enough and I just didn't have what it was necessary to be one of the best players. And it just rocked my world, And so I went all the way through high school just pissed off. And my friends would not know it. They wouldn't see it. But I was pissed the whole time because I wasn't the person that I knew inside that should be showing up, It was everything was latent and hidden and all of that. And I still played everything and did okay. By my standards, not anywhere near as good as it should have been. It just was really frustrating. I just developed the biggest chip on my shoulder.
Yeah.
It has really kind of generated this mentality about competition and being competitive and always competing. I mean, I talk that way because that's what I am. That's what came out of that experience. I had such high expectations for myself, and nobody knew, and nobody could see it. So it was always held
you
back
probably,
so much.
I assume, you had the coordination and you had the hand-eye stuff, and you just didn't have the size.
Yeah, I just didn't have the power.
They had you at 110 in your freshman year.
Yeah, and that was I was going
to say,
that was leaning on on something to push down on the scale. I had to go see a doctor. Dr. Nutting was the guy that I had to go see so that he could look at me, strip down, look at me, and say, "Is he mature enough to play high school football?" My freshman football picture, the team picture, I looked like the mascot sitting
right.
there. It was bad, man. It was a nightmare, So anyway.
Was there anyone in your life that you were open to about this?
No.
Kept it all nice.
No, I just sucked it all up. And I just had to wait it out,
Well, then you eventually grew, 11th or...
When I left high school and I went to junior college, I wanted to go to, major school and go play football, and I couldn't, So I went to junior college, and it worked out fine because then I finally became full size. When I was a freshman in college and in my sophomore year in college, I was finally measured at 6 feet, 175 pounds, whatever, and I was a regular sized kid finally. I finally got a chance. It wasn't until my junior college years, it wasn't until the University of Pacific coaches recognized me, and back in the day, I got to piggyback on another player's opportunity to go for a visit for a scholarship. They kind of let me go with them. And then in the day, which wasn't legal at the time, we played basketball on Saturday of the weekend visit, and I just killed it. I was going like crazy. Had one of the great days I ever had. The coaches recognized it, so they offered me a scholarship. I was going nowhere. And then things just worked out. All of the frustration I set aside, and I got over it, and I didn't poison my mentality. It fueled me. And so I was fortunate that I had a really fun time playing football there, and we had a couple nice years, and that was the start of it.
It is rare that one of the guests on here didn't have some significant period of frustration, in those teenage years. There's some period where it's like, it certainly creates your character. I suppose it can break you as well, but if it doesn't break you, it really forges your character.
Yeah, and my mentality during those years, I always liked the pretty girls and all that, but I would never date anybody. I wouldn't call them on the phone. I was chicken shit. I wouldn't do it, because I knew I wasn't what I needed to be at the time, so I just waited, and fortunately, eventually you grow
In
up.
these high standards, would you think something just innately in you biochemically, or was dad or mom
No, my
setting
dad
you
was
really?
really competitive. He was tough, and he was a competitive guy. I loved that about him, and they were wonderful to me. They just supported me. But I had done a lot of stuff when I was young, enough that I had set my mentality in place, and I knew what I wanted to become, and I didn't care where it was. I just wanted to be special at something. That's why I played all the sports, and loved playing 3 sports, and hate that kids in high school don't get to do that anymore. It's a marvelous experience to do that, but that all shaped, just added to the mentality that for some reason, by the time I was 12 or 13, I had it all figured out what I was going to do and be, and then I went into this dark period. And I had to wait. So
where your biology said, "I have a different game plan for you."
exactly.
Did you think in those moments like, I will get there?
Oh, I always
not
knew.
there
No,
yet. So you knew.
I always knew. I knew it. I just couldn't prove it.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Was it the experience of being on the court or being on the field or all those things that drew you to it, or were you heavily drawn to the camaraderie and fellowship of teams?
I was on really good teams with good coaches when I was young, which add to the experience I had at a young age wasn't negative at all, like some little league kids have, terrible situation. I didn't have that. I had really good support in it. My high school coach was a really well-rounded guy that taught virtue and character and stuff, But I worked at his high school football camp, the Diamond B football camp, my first year in high school. Freshman year, sophomore, all 4 years in college, I worked at his camp every summer and was kind of indoctrinated into this mentality of the Diamond B. My coach and his best friend were Marine vets,
Right.
So it was run very strictly, and they had a sensitivity about them that was really special that made it a really fun atmosphere. So I was kind of raised on the fields of the Diamond B, or sowing the seeds on future days and future fields to bear the fruits of victory. It was all that kind of stuff, and music,
Clear eyes, full hearts.
Yeah, I mean, everybody stuff. They wake us up 6 o'clock in the morning, we all run, and the whole thing. So it really had a lot to do with, in a subtle way. It was only 2 weeks of summer, but it was impacting to me, and it's always been part of my coaching.
There's such a difference, right, when you elect to do something versus when you're told to do something. Like just by the fact that you chose to spend 2 weeks of your summer doing that puts you in a different mindset.
By doing the Pop Warner, I would coach the Pop Warner kids.
Okay.
And I would earn the free pass to go to the camp. And so that's kind of how it was said. And that was maybe the best job I had in growing up ever.
Right.
Because I actually earned something that I really wanted, and it made sense, and it connected and all that. Other jobs that I had over the years weren't really, I didn't
Not
take
as
much away from
rewarding.
it.
Yeah. You end up graduating from Pacific, and you have a degree in business administration, right? Is that what you end up with?
Yeah.
Just really quick, because you have proven to be entrepreneurial. And was it, this is what I'm interested in, or was it this is a smart backup plan? What was the thought behind business administration?
My dad and my brother sat me down when I was on my way to college in the bedroom one night. I can remember saying, if you're ever going to do anything in life, you got to sell something.
My dad gave me the same speech.
Yeah, sell something.
Yeah.
My dad was a lifelong salesman, so that was like the worst thing that they could have told me. Because I didn't want to. That's not me. That had nothing to do with that. So I went to business school, and did all that, and just did what they told me, and was very compliant. But it made no sense at all.
Right.
But what I've done the rest of my life in coaching is sell. I've been selling the principles and approach and concept and
you're selling
motivation.
a culture and ideology.
Absolutely.
So you did that for a brief period out of college, but then you found your way to assistant coaching.
When I was working for Certainteed Products, I got a call from the Canadian Football League. They were looking for DB, and I got kind of excited about the chance, and then they just left me cold. And then the World Football League started up within the same kind of time frame, and I got connected some way and got a chance and signed a contract to go to the Hawaiians of the World Football League. And that was about 6 months through my Certainteed years, and I started working out like a fiend, and like I knew, and I got ready to do that. Went to camp, got cut, and didn't know what the heck to do. And my coaches from Pacific called me and said, if you'd like to be a GA, we got a position for you. If that didn't happen, I don't know what would have happened. I had no direction. I was just dead stop. That started everything. They saw me as a coach before I saw me as a coach. I never thought of being a coach. It was never in my mind to coach football.
You just wanted to play.
Sport. I just want to play.
Right. This is one of those we talk about on here a lot with actors or whatever, any creative endeavor. It's like there's talent, and then there's hard work, and then there's luck. And probably at best, these are all like 33% each of the puzzle, right?
Yeah.
So at some point in your life, luck intervenes. They offer you to come to Pacific and start on this trajectory. Do you immediately like it?
When I went to school all the way through until then, I didn't really care about school. I was just going because I was playing sports. Even in college, in my business degree, I barely made it through that, But when I went back to school and I went back to get my teaching credential and also work towards my master's degree, there was just a couple courses and a couple instructors that I connected with that just lit me on fire.
Turned
And I
your-
just got excited about learning. And all of a sudden, every grade, I was getting A's on everything. It wasn't even a challenge to go to school.
Right.
It was easy because I liked it. I just flourished in that time. And during that time at Pacific, it was back in the 70s, happened to be the guys that we ran into in the master's program, the instructors and their friends, just got me in a whole different world of stuff, and it opened me up to performance and opened me up to meditation and opened me up to Eastern philosophy, all kinds of things that now have I'm not a meditator and I'm not a yoga guy, but I understand and appreciate that where the thinking came from in terms of performance and controlling and managing your life that figured a way into my mentality as a coach. I didn't mean for that to happen. It just happened. It just became me, and so some really cool things happened. And I've not left some of the early teachings from then all the way till now.
Yeah, to drill into that for just a little bit, I have to imagine prior to that, you must have been kind of at the forefront of when we start thinking about the power of the mind in this.
Yeah, there were some really instrumental people at the time. There's a guy named Michael Murphy, who was a founder of Esalen. And Michael was friends with Glenn Albaugh, who was my master's teacher. They were friends with Bill Walsh, and they connected me with Tim Galloway and all these other. We met all of these people within about a 2-year span of time, all talking about performance and the higher realms in sports and all of the talk about the zone and all those kinds of things that were just
flow
and all that stuff that was kind of unfamiliar at the time. It was like mainstream for us in what we were studying and all that. And it just was a rare time. And I just happened to be exactly at the right place at the right time. Abraham Maslow's teaching, about self-actualization was a big part of the mentality that I've never been able to understand anything other than that kind of,
Right.
about helping people find their way to become their best is what we're into with our work that we do now outside of football. So it was a very fortunate time. You talk about luck. It was really lucky and fortunate for my growth and all.
Now, the next phase of your life is one that I feel like would be particularly grueling to me. First, you were a student coach, right? And then eventually you become an assistant coach. And you get linked to a head coach or some defensive coordinator, something, right? You get linked to a coach that's above you. And then you're on that person's train a little bit, right? You're moving around.
Yeah, you're right. That's exactly how it goes.
A, that would have been a little hard for me. And then B, I wonder how long into it before you start naturally just having your own philosophy,
Yeah.
and then ultimately having to carry out someone else's philosophy when you might have a contradictory one. For me, as someone with immense authority issues, I don't know if I could have done all that. Like, it's impressive to do that legwork, that grunt work.
It's very interesting in that I was just having fun and liking what I was doing, liked that I was around the game. And the first 3 years at Pacific as a graduate assistant, you were just nowhere. That person you were talking about that was going to help you, move along. It happened to be a guy that was on my staff, Bob Cope, who's passed away, that was a defensive coordinator that got me the opportunity to wind up going to Arkansas. 3 years as a graduate assistant, I was dead in the water. I was going to Moreau High School in the East Bay to be a high school teacher.
Phys ed teacher.
Yeah, phys ed teacher, which
Yeah.
I didn't want to do at all.
Yeah.
They offered me a job, and they offered me $10,000 a year to coach at this school, and I took a job that made $172 a month at Arkansas, to chase the dream of, and
That was the wage we just discovered of the Nike employees 12 years ago. I mean, that's the same. That was the same salary virtually. It was me $8 cheaper.
It was about on the same level. And my wife and I, Glenna, we went to Arkansas, and all of a sudden saw big time college football, and it was such a wonderful experience. Lou Holtz was the head coach, and it was his first year there. He had a magical run in those first couple of years. We were just there 1 year, but it just opened up everything to us. And we were now with people who were movers and shakers that would find their way to jobs that could help us. And Monty Kiffin was a guy that eventually wound up hiring me. Later on, he was on that staff. I mean, so the relationship part of the business really started to make sense, where it meant nothing until then. We jumped, bump, bump, bump. We were going from one place to the other just to follow the opportunity. It was just a wild ride. I had no intention about being a head coach. I wasn't thinking that way. I was just in the midst of the run and having fun doing it.
And Glenna, she's a patient human being? Is your wife?
Oh, gosh.
Because if not only,
She's
it's bad enough to be
unbelievable.
linked to Bob's train or whoever's train, and then now she's fucking at the caboose of yours. She's every time she gets settled, probably.
Yes, that's exactly what it was like. We went to Arkansas for 9 months. We went to Iowa State for 9 months. We went to Ohio State for another 10 months. And then we're on to NC State for 3 years. For the first time, we settled down for 3 years, and got fired. And so, we finally got something stable and we got fired. So we had, I don't know, some unbelievable number of moves in a short amount of time. Like we were like at 5 different jobs in 3 years or something. You can't even do that. You can't figure out how to do that kind of stuff. But anyway, so she's been amazing, and she's been such a rock for me. She's an amazing person, a top athlete in her day.
Yeah, she was volleyball.
Yeah. She was the first scholarship player at the University of the Pacific for women, and when Title IX came in and all of that. She's famous in my life, easily.
I have to imagine, too, in the uncertainty of all the moving around, what's next, where are we going, having that foundation at home probably was super crucial for you to stay the
she
course.
Let me go crazy. And I was been a pretty crazy role.
It's a very
job I've been in, and she's let it happen and supported it in every way and understood it too. So,
and if these shows are telling me the truth, like this Last Chance U, have you seen that show by chance?
No.
It's on Netflix.
That's really good.
It's incredible.
I'm still trying to get through Stranger Things. And
Okay. Well, Last Chance U, I wonder if you would enjoy it being a coach. You could either get double enjoyment out of it or you might hate it. I think those are my guesses. I doubt you'd be ambivalent about it. But in a nutshell, it's people who've gotten kicked out of D1. They go to these community colleges, and that's their last chance to get back up to D1. And so it's just the most ragtag group you can imagine because they've all had fines or they've got in trouble with the law. They got kicked out of their good school. And so the job that these coaches have, they're basically getting the rejected worst of the worst problem athletes that are great. And they have to figure out how to make them work. It's a really, interesting psychological journey. But anyways, the hours that they seem to work are very long. Was that your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. The world of competing, what competing is all about, really hits you right between the eyes when you're in the college world of coaching. We compete so hard to find the edge in everything that we're doing. It's a mentality that you can't sleep, you can't rest, you can't stop, you can't. If you're in and you're all the way in, then that's what it is. And I live in that today. I mean, every minute that I'm running around doing what I do, I'm trying to figure out another way to do something a little bit better. That's a competitor's mentality, and that's what comes out of the process of, through these coaching opportunities. Now, maybe it's not like that for everybody. I think it's for the ones that do really well, they find their way to that. It's really hard to just kind of roll through it and be successful. You got to really go for it. It's an extraordinary world to live in, in that regard. And it's why you do all the crazy stuff you do and take the jobs and you move and you travel and the family's second to all of those decisions. I hate that was the way it was as I look back because my kids changing schools and changing doctors and changing friends and all this. I did that one after another. Pursuing what? I don't know. Just trying to, I don't know. I don't know what it is.
A trophy you probably could have manufactured for $100.
But we did it. And fortunately, Glenna was one that went along with it and made it work, and because I didn't make it work, she made it work. It's a crazy mentality if you really are in it.
Have you read Essentialism?
I do know I have been taught about the stuff, yeah.
Yeah, it's
read the book.
Fascinating book. One of the parts in particular is how many of these kind of very inspirational CEOs, be it Bill Gates or different people, they build into their schedule free time, but it's scheduled. It's like Bill has 2 weeks every 6 months or whatever, where he's doing nothing. And then there's quite a bit of evidence to support that without those big breaks, that's where new ideas come from. That's where breakthroughs come from. That's where you get out of the trees and see the entire woods, right? So is it possible in that schedule to even step back and have some kind of global view of the whole thing where you can recharge, or is that what happens in the off season?
I think there's stages of your growth through the coaching thing when you just can't see the forest for the trees. You're just going head down going. I was privy to a mentality of finding the spaces between the spaces and learning how to maximize that, which to me is like minutes. It can be a glimpse out the window and you see something and you take that moment to just relish what you just saw, those little teeny spaces, and then you can learn. I've learned to maximize those spaces and use that time for the kinds of moments that I need to find clarity, to find vision of things that that you
or observe patterns. Even, probably
absolutely, it's patterns, it's people, it's emotions, it's energy, it's all kinds of stuff. And so that's a skill that somebody taught us in one of the books we were reading about. There's no balance. There's no balance in life. That's bullshit. There is not balance. Like I'm going to balance the work and the family. Yeah, you don't do that. It isn't balanced. You may try to make yourself think you're doing that. You do the best you can with the times that you have available. And it's not about the time. It's about, are you there? Are you connected? Are you present and in the moment and lovingly with where you need to be? There's a real discipline to that. And I think it's really valuable. Yeah. It's valuable so that like when you get with your children, you need to get there, and be there. And to not be there, but to be with them is really a travesty. And so
it's almost worse.
You have to learn how to do it. I think it's because you care so much that you learn how to get good at it.
Yeah.
You were talking about the competitive mentality, and we talk about being competitive and competition a lot on here because I'm very competitive.
And I claim to not be.
He claims to not be, but he is. Do you
He is.
That's, yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's been known me for 9 minutes, and he
Just
says
not
I am.
in sports, but in everything else. Do you think that's innate, or do you think it's learned? Do you think you can learn
That's
it?
a really good question, yeah. Well, first off, before we go any further, competition, competing is striving to me. That's the way you understand it. It's not winning and losing.
It's not
Totally.
zero sum necessarily.
No, it's striving. It's
Yes.
striving for whatever. It's striving for excellence, striving for new insight. It's whatever, and that's something. When you think of it differently than winning and losing and standing on somebody's throat and calling them names, I just beat you, and all
Yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not it at all. If it was that, I would never have been able to pursue in this manner. But so it's part of the makeup, and you can learn. Yeah, we teach people how to compete. One of the things I hope to do, and we're involved with USC in, of course, a study, and I'm really excited about it, that we have a chance to teach people in college how to compete. I totally think you can. I think it's a mentality, and it's something that I'm really excited about because I think you can help people not compete to get a better job, but compete to be a better person.
Yeah.
Well, I was
And
just going to
be more
say,
fully connected to everything. There's a whole thought here that's really exciting.
well,
I think.
to defend myself a little bit, I will acknowledge I'm in deep competition with myself. Always. I'm trying to beat yesterday's Dax regularly. I'm trying to be better than 10 years ago Dax.
That's why you're competitive. Yeah.
Right. Like I am in a race to be better than I was last time, and I am interested in that.
Yeah.
Dax, I think that's one of the most important things that we can share with somebody, that you have an opportunity to compete at being you.
Mhm.
And that is the ultimate pursuit. That's all the way back to Maslow. It's the ultimate
Yeah.
life's calling. Is be the
Man
best-
versus himself.
Be the best person that you can be for the people that you love so that you can make the most of your time and your life and that for the people around you. And so
Yeah.
that's behind all of this. It's behind all of the coaching, the meeting I had last night, the night before the game. I mean, I'm talking about those principles so that we can live more fully and more completely and really actualize the potential that we have. And that's really doing it, so.
Yeah. I get daunted at whenever thinking of being the best at anything when you just go like, well, there's 7 billion people. So, I could be a better version of myself, but
Yes.
most certainly someone's going to be better at every single thing than me. So it seems like a fool's errand,
Just for example, when I got fired at New England, and I'd been there for 3 years and had done okay, been to the playoffs a couple times and all that. And I felt okay about it. And then all of a sudden, in the, eyes of the world, you're fired, you're kicked out, you're
Yeah.
not good enough, you're not worthy, I didn't think that way. I didn't, it didn't hit me that way. It hit me, they don't get it. They just don't understand, that they're the ones that are missing out, whoever's calling that shot. And that's a competitive mentality that we all have the opportunity to draw on when the time comes. Okay, yeah, it didn't quite work out, but I know I'm way better than this, and I just got to work at it and find my way. And when you are working at it, as you talked about, that's you're winning. That's what winning in life is that you're connecting your efforts to being the best version of yourself so that you can love more purely and share your love with the people that you care about. I mean, I'm trying to stand for that wherever we go, and hopefully it makes some sense to some people. Maybe if it doesn't, I'm okay. But I'm okay about it, but that's what seems to be the exciting work.
You coach in college for a while. You go to the NFL as a defensive back coach for the Bills, right? Then the Vikings. And then the defensive coordinator with the Jets for 4 seasons. That's 84 through 99.
Yeah.
Then you become the head coach of the Jets in 94. And then you got fired after a year. I want to say that your failures are incredibly public, right? So, and there's a unique sting to having everyone around you know what you just, that you just failed kind of publicly.
Yeah.
Is it
The
not
New York thing was really something because I used to drive from the island to the stadium and back and forth, and those millions and millions and millions of people that you pass along the way on the freeway, living there and following their teams. And I had this thought that how many people it can affect, there's just, if they care. And I look at those high rises and you see I can remember doing this, see the high rises and the lights on in those apartments, and there's thousands and thousands and thousands. They probably were just watching that game that we just went out there and got our ass kicked in. What the heck, man? I had a chance to fire them all up, and I didn't. That opportunity was a great one. to really have impact and to do some cool stuff. And the guy bounced me, months after I got the job. So
Yeah.
that was too bad.
It's an interesting point you make, because I bet if you were coaching up in Green Bay, it's like you could largely miss until game day that there are even people around. It's
it was
so scarce.
New York was an amazing opportunity.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
Here's one of the moments now that I talk about where your ego could have fucked you. Since 1994, you could have been sitting around waiting for a head coach job again. And correct me if I'm wrong, if maybe I don't even understand how this works, but you did then step down to be a defensive coordinator for the 49ers, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that is a backward step in conventional logic, right?
Yeah, unless you were born in San Francisco and you love George Seifert and the Niners and Bill Walsh and all that stuff,
Right.
A quick story about that. I have a chance to get a coordinator job at the Denver Broncos, okay? And I'm getting ready to go to the airport to get on a flight to go to Denver to go hopefully get the job. And the phone rings. I mean, I'm waiting to get in the car, to go to the airport. And it's George Seifert, the coach of the 49ers. And he said, hey, would you be interested in being our coordinator? And I said, well, I'm going, here to Denver. And he said, well, can you come here afterwards and we'll talk about it and all that? And I said, well, sure. Okay, great. And there I go, and I'm on the way. I went to the Denver interview and then went to San Francisco and he offered me the job. And I'm sitting at dinner with the head coach that I just admired to the highest. And I couldn't take it. I couldn't take the job. I couldn't say yes. I said, I went back to the room. I said, sorry, I'll let you know. And I'm thinking, what an idiot! What do you think? You could have had this job. This is going back home. San Francisco. You love the Niners. It's just be a great place to land after the crap we'd been through. Called Glenn and I said, what's up? Why can't I tell George that I want this job? And she said, are you afraid? And I said, afraid. Oh, I'll call you back. I hung up, and I called George within the next 20 seconds, and I tried to find him and finally get him at home. And I said, yeah, I'd love to take the job, And I realized that I held that opportunity in such high regard. Emotionally, I didn't know what was overcoming me. It was a big deal to me.
Because you wanted to be perfect there. Is that what it was?
I wanted to be everything for that place because I loved the Niners. The whole Bill Walsh era had come by, and I loved all of that. And George Seifert now was doing it. And I loved George in San Francisco, and I loved the Bay Area so much.
Yeah.
It was such a big deal to me. I couldn't grasp that at the time. So
There's probably an emotional component, right? That doesn't exist with other teams.
So that's why you say taking a step back, it meant so much to me. It was more important than any other thing I could do.
Right.
And so fortunately that it happened and we had a blast,
Right. And then after being there for a while, you then in 97, 2 years, I guess you're with the 49ers?
Yeah.
Really quick, because again, this is stuff I learned today, but you created this thing, Legion of Boom, right? A defense.
No, I didn't create it.
You didn't create it.
The players did that.
The players created it. You still, led the NFL in scoring defense 4 years straight.
Yeah.
That's accurate.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe you didn't create it. With the 49ers, do you have that same strategy there, or is this something that evolved later?
We were really good at the 49ers. We led the league in defense my first year there, and I think we were right there the second year, right up there, and we had really good teams.
And what was the defining characteristic of that style was that you weren't going to let the big plays happen? Did I understand that correctly?
Well, there's a lot to it, but it starts there. It's too simple, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the San Francisco thing was really a big deal to me as a coach because I went into a situation that I held in the highest of regard. They had been together for like 17 years of the same kind of thinking and formula, and the notebook was a foot deep, and I had to figure out how to coach a bunch of guys that had just won a world championship. That was the first time I realized that I was a good coach. I never, ever thought of myself as a really good, successful, or big. I didn't think any of that. But making it through that process to solve the mystery so that I could represent there at San Francisco, for the first time I realized that, I could do this. And I know that sounds crazy because I'd been coaching a long time, but I really didn't hold myself in that regard until that time. I proved it to myself because I realized what I was up against challenge-wise.
You acknowledged your skills and you...
Yeah. So from then on, it's been kind of a surge of, doing some pretty good things. And here in Seattle and doing the stuff that we did there, that was just an outgrowth and blossoming of personalities is really what we saw. The boom thing and all that, that just kind of came together because we gave the guys the freedom to be themselves and to be uniquely the way they were, but to always keep them bonded in this connection of doing something really, really special and really great. They had space to create the Legion of Boom.
Right.
And Richard and
so you allowed them to be
Cam
individual
and all those guys all did that.
While still being
one unit. I now know how powerful that is. I was doing that, but I didn't know what I was doing. And I've learned in just the last 10 years at Seattle, some stuff has come to the surface that I didn't know what I was doing, but it was happening. And
Right.
now I have a much better feel for it. And so now we work to recreate, and it's really fun.
You get the head coach job at the Patriots in 97 for 3 years. And now, when you're let go from there,
The Legion of Boom wasn't in there. That all happened in Seattle, right?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
I was just wondering if the defensive style that later was
No,
named
it wasn't. I
Legion-
didn't do it right
Okay.
there. I screwed it up.
Okay.
As a head coach, I should have been the defensive coordinator, and I didn't do it there. I missed that decision.
Uh-huh.
When I went to USC, I went in there as the defensive coordinator to bring them all of the strengths that I had. So at least half of my team I would be in control of, as opposed to giving that to somebody else to coordinate. And that
Because
was-
generally the head coach doesn't also
sometimes
coach
they do,
defense.
sometimes they don't. So
Okay.
most of the time they don't do defense. The offensive guy's more so in charge. And I just didn't do it right. I just made a mistake. And that was one of the clear decisions that I had made in the time between New England and SC. And it's made all the difference.
Right. And so after the Patriots job, again, here's a moment where I imagine at that time where you're like, I don't want to leave being an NFL head coach and go be a college coach.
No, you're right on it. That's exactly what happened. In going back to college, I was in college football for, 11 years or something like that, then went to the NFL for like 16 or 17, and then go back. When I went back, it seemed like it was kind of a minor league feeling to it,
Yeah.
to me, and so I felt like I was in such command that it just really freed me up even more to be more creative and more,
It bolstered your confidence?
yeah, it was just more powerful in the decision making. And after the first year at USC, I made the best choices in my career of how to control the team, and I've been at my best from that point forward,
Yeah.
I think, because of that.
And what's great too, which I like, and maybe you do or you don't, you weren't their first pick, right?
No.
You were like their fourth
No.
or fifth pick.
No, I wasn't.
See,
at
these
all.
make the story so much better.
Yeah, well, matter of fact, I had gone into the interview and I really did great. I was so ready. I was so prepared for it. It just worked out great. I knew that I had killed it.
Yeah.
But I knew that I also wasn't the right choice. So I stayed in LA for days after the interview, waiting for the decision to come out, because the athletic director had to kind of figure out how he was going to tell the world who was going to be their next coach. And he knew he was going to get just
Hammered.
crushed,
Yeah.
And so I can remember laying on the beach right between Manhattan and Hermosa, just waiting for the phone call. And I finally called and I said, come on, let's go. We got recruits. We got to get this thing going.
Yeah.
I know you want to do it. And so it was the next day when he finally announced it. It was really, I was coercing our way into to encouraging him,
Yeah.
to let's make the call and don't worry about it. It'll work out great. We're going to kill it,
Yeah.
And it was
You were your dad getting another handle in some saloon somewhere.
really. So, it took a while to be received, but I didn't care.
I'm going to bring Monica up to speed if you don't
Do it.
mind. So they started at 2-5. Okay. They won 2
There
and
you
they
go.
lost 5.
Okay.
And then people were already critical when they hired him. And now at this point, it really crescendos, right?
Yeah.
It really crescendos. And guess what happens next, Monica?
Tell me.
He goes on to get a 67-7 record over the next
Wow.
74 games.
Wow.
And he wins 2 national championships.
Wow.
And he doubled, because I'm a greedy little pig, the USC athletic department revenue.
Oh, you love them.
I love money. Is that right? I mean, that's like out of a
Crazy,
movie. Is
yeah.
that just like the most rewarding, fulfilling?
Well, in particular,
Vindicating.
flying back into LA yesterday, it really came kind of flooding back. This has happened a couple different times, but we had so much fun. It was such a cool run. There were so many unbelievably fun, exciting things that occurred, the decisions that we were making. We were so freewheeling at the time. We were just going for it.
Making jazz.
We were just going for it. We were questionably received in some areas, and when it came to the end and they go back and they start hammering some of the things we did, they didn't get it. We had so much fun. And it was so much fun for so many people. It wasn't just the football players or the coaching staff. We were sharing it with everybody. We had people coming to practice and people were around the program.
Yeah, you opened up practices, right?
We got terribly scrutinized for that.
Yeah.
Those people never were there. It was an event. You didn't know who was going to show up, and the games were a blast.
Especially
People
in
wanted to be on the
LA,
side.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it was LA was a blast. It was just
Yeah.
such a great time, and we were able to win so much and do so many neat
Well, part of
things.
I would imagine mentally, part of the component is like most people are practicing anonymously, and then you get in front of 90,000 people. There has to be some shift. So the fact that they may have been playing in front of Ice Cube, that's stressful. It's just good practice to be
Yeah.
playing in front of people you want to impress, right?
precisely was the thought behind it.
Yeah.
The noise, the music, the people, the event, that there was something, because you never performed otherwise. So we needed to be in that. So it was just commonplace. And it was that. I still believe that to this day, that we try to make practice. I would have people come every day if we could to make it. You don't have to have 60,000 or 90,000 to perform. If you know that there's some people, they're there. Somebody's there. We had a game in Bothell in the middle of camp, and there was 3,000 people there. It felt like you're playing in the Coliseum, on that moment, the music and the cheer of the crowd and all that stuff. That makes it real.
Yes.
And that makes the experience
makes them practice harder.
More fruitful with it. Well, that, yes, but even there's environmental issues around you, and you got to deal with them, and you got to figure out how to cope with that. It's like no big deal to us.
Why was that scrutinized?
Glenna would tell me sometimes we looked too boasty, over the top too much, and she's not wrong about that. Our guys were jumping up and down on the sidelines and cheering what was going on. There was a point when we were going to, I don't know what Rose Bowl it was, the third one or whatever one it was, and the writers were saying, the Trojans don't care about going to the Rose Bowl. It's not a big deal to them. This is just an afterthought. There's, and I wanted to prove to anybody that was going to watch that game how much we cared and how much we respected that opportunity. So our guys were going crazy on the sidelines, and they're chanting and jumping and stuff like that, And when I look back at it, I can see where it could look like they're being kind of boastful, because we were always winning, and people didn't like that about us. For us, it was just to live to the very fullest.
Can I say, though, I do believe that there is an undercurrent of racism here, and this goes across all sports, really, because this was in the Hoosiers movie. This goes back, like, be modest, be fundamental, don't celebrate. And those are really associated with black players. That's really why everyone was in an uproar. I think it was a cultural difference that the white patriarchy had an issue with. I think there are racial undertones of that, of how you're supposed to celebrate, how you're supposed to support. And those seem very kind of East Coast.
How you're supposed to govern.
Yes, yeah. It seems very kind of... old school, old money, all these things. I don't know. So I've never really...
I think there's a line to be drawn, though. I think you can go too far. And I think there probably sometimes we did go too far in our lack of humility. But it was not for the wrong reasons. It was to just have fun. It was to enjoy the heck out of everything we were doing. So we erred at times, but I don't think we erred for the wrong reasons. I think...
So here's where a couple now, the coaching strategies I want to talk about. One is... I don't know. Tell me. I feel like perhaps there's a parallel here. I'm sober. I've been sober 15 years. There's a bunch of principles from AA that I really dig. One of them that's the most known probably is 1 day at a time. Now, I have sponsored guys that go, I want to get sober, but like, what about when my son turns 21? Am I not going to have a beer with my son?
Really? Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's a legit fear. But when's your son turning 21? In 14 years? Let's just today we'll be sober. And tomorrow, hopefully, we'll be sober. We'll cross that path when we come to it. When your son's 21, we can evaluate it on that day. We don't need to think about that day. We need to think about today. And I do wonder, is there a parallel between one play at a time? I'm sure everyone wants to win that national championship or that Super Bowl. Are you at your best when you're pursuing a goal that is Mount Everest as opposed to the step in front of you?
You're on it. I mean, you couldn't be more on point with the essence of what I think is the growth that you have available to you. Is one step. It's the next step you take. It's not what you just did. It's what you're going to do now. What you just did is long gone. And it doesn't matter if it was a year or if it was a career or whatever. If it was just the catch that you just made, it's done. And what are you going to do about the next step you take? And the ability to discipline yourself to that kind of focus is what can allow you to touch extraordinary. It can allow you to reach into the realms of your highest potentials. It's focus and discipline. It's mindfulness. It's presence. It's all of those things that come all the way back from Eastern philosophy when I learned years and years ago. It was that presence and that love of instant in the moment. Michael Murphy was at the essence of that stuff. We mentioned his name earlier. He understood that because of his Eastern philosophy training. That is my challenge, to help people understand that so that they can be great at what
it's hard too, right? Because let's say I'm a wide receiver and I miss some catch, right? Well, the truth is that plays now in a history book. It doesn't really matter what your spin on it is. It doesn't matter if you think you didn't get this or that coverage or that, that narrative you want to spin around that unfortunate thing that just hurt, as opposed to just accepting it. It happened, it's gone, and it's gone for good. And now I have a new opportunity in front of me to do something different. It's really hard. It's tempting to try to
well,
start creating your defense, right?
What's interesting about that too is that a lot of people don't understand that and don't have that information yet. And so that they go on what they think should happen and what they think you should feel and think should have been the response. So many people judge in that manner. They don't get it. You go right back to the moment when we lose the Super Bowl. That was my greatest test. Are you real or not? Right in the instance of, but before I stood up.
You got to walk your talk.
Before I stood up, was I, from the reaction of that moment, was I going to be real to what I'm talking about? Am I going to take the next step? I did. I know I did. It wasn't for anybody else, but I did know that I needed to show that for others to maybe benefit in their pain that they were going to go through from what just happened.
Well, you're in you have an opportunity to model behavior.
Yeah, and I don't know that it ever came through. And I knew that there was a moment in time there, because it's such a visible event and all that I would like to have been able to connect that for other people so that they could understand that you can do it. You can go to the next thing and get moving and where everybody wanted to drag you back in and keep you. And I appreciate that you hadn't brought it up yet, but I don't appreciate it because it's important. It's an important challenge to learn that you can manage your life in a way that you can go to the very next instant and be mindful and present. But you think about how you can learn how to do that with the people that you love and the people that you take care of and all. It's so valuable and it's so necessary, I think. And so that's why I'm wildly in pursuit of helping people come to understand that.
Yeah, if you're carrying the shame of your last indiscretion into tomorrow, then you might as well just admit you're fucking up tomorrow because you really just can't, you can't be doing both, right? Yeah. The other thing I feel like could be an interesting parallel is, we famously say the serenity prayer in there all the time, which is basically just, give me the guidance of which things I should accept and which things I should keep battling. And I think that as a human, I think it transcends all occupations. It's like, God, figuring out what things to accept. A shitty call is a shitty call. The quicker you can accept that and move forward, the better off you are, I would imagine.
Right.
Like there's so many elements that are out of your control. And every second spent worrying about the things that are out of your control is seconds you could have put into the things you do control, right?
It is exactly controlling the things that you can control is how you live your life. If you try to mess with the things you can't control, you're going to be a mess.
Yeah.
You're going to be a mess. That's exactly how we coach and as we teach is to develop the discipline that it takes to not get attracted to the things that are outside of you and just stay with the things that are within you. And then when you do that, you can celebrate so much more.
Yeah.
Because you're not always in response, what just happened? Oh, God, what are they thinking and all that. So it's an extraordinarily valuable discipline.
Yeah, and hard. It's hard. We all lay in bed.
It ain't easy, and it comes and goes. You get it. You got to.
And you relearn it always.
Yes, you keep relearning. That's right.
Yeah,
exactly right.
And then over time, and sadly too, it's something that comes with the vantage point of age, which is you can look back on your life and go, "Ooh, all the things I worried about." Maybe 10% of those things were what ended up affecting me. And then all these things I didn't even consider became my biggest obstacles and stuff. If there was some great correlation, it'd be worth it. But generally, none of us are worrying about the right things anyways. You get an aneurysm, you were trying to quit smoking, you were, whatever the thing is.
Exactly.
We're bad predictors.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other thing that I think is really, you're in a unique position to speak on is, and I asked Michael Gervais about this, a lot of the guys you deal with had the same childhood I had, which is, no dad around, sporadic stepdads that came in with a game plan. I'm not open to it. I don't want your fucking game plan. I'd rather bet on myself. So I imagine there's different coaching styles with guys who are fatherless or limited fathering, and then ones who had a dad around all the time. Is there a distinct?
I don't know if it's coaching styles. I mean, it would sound like you click into this mentality, this thinking, and all. But there's great value in empathy, in being able to receive the people where they are and what they've been through and all of that. And then our way is to try to put them in a relationship-based environment so that we can learn who they are and what's going on with them, and then learn how to connect with them in the most effective way. Because what we're trying to help them do is be the best they can be. So to do that, you've got to figure out who you're dealing with, regardless of what their background and their circumstances. So we work to find common ground and common vision and stuff. And in that, we just get to the real of it, and it's not about, if you could have sat in the meeting last night and heard my players, we had a little group that was firing up the rest of the defensive guys the night before the game. And out came these unbelievable revelations of stories of their background, just in minutes of their conversation, that would just move you. And every one of them has a story. Every one of them's got the hardships exactly like you're talking about. that made them the man that they are today and make them the man that they may become. It's so valuable to know that everybody's got their story and to let them know that you care and give them an opportunity to share their story. And then on we go. Okay, yeah, that's your stuff, but we're not going to keep coming back to it. Same thing. That's what it was. Now, what are we going to do now? And how can we develop this wonderful, fruitful environment that you can flourish and be great in,
Yeah.
After 40-something years of doing this, there's an open-hearted approach that is, I don't know, just about as real as it gets. I don't know how the others differences in our backgrounds and stuff, but what we're commonly drawn together to do and to embrace, our guys live in an extraordinary world. Even though there's still issues, there's still issues about it and legitimate issues about it. If you could see what it's like behind the walls of a building, and these guys get to just flourish in their unique, special ways that they are and accepted for it and received well day in and day out and not held to some other standards and not oppressed or coerced or in any, they get to freely flow in our environment, and it's awesome. Just to be connected to it and to be able to be caught up in it, it's such a, I'm so grateful for it.
And to go back to the extraordinary nature of what your occupation is, I don't know there's another job in the world where your employees have just gone from making $0 to millions of dollars. That in itself is one of the most unique. So they're going through this self-realization of that they are generating this thing and basically they're at their dream destination, which is wild. You're basically putting gold medals around people's necks on the podium. You're witnessing something that is just incredibly unique.
Yeah.
It's very hard to manage that new attention,
There's
that
so
new
much going
status.
On. It's hard to, and it's not that you have to feel sorry for them for that. They're getting the opportunity to go through it. But you should feel sorry for is the guys that don't make it, because myself included, we came up to make this thing and to do something with it. And our entire life was to be a football dude. How that happened, I don't know, but that's what our life was drawn to. And we get this shot to do it, and then it's over.
Yeah.
Then what? If you could put it in anybody's walk in life, you're doing everything you ever wanted to do, and all of a sudden, you don't get to do it anymore. It's over.
Totally.
And you're 27.
It's crazy.
You may be 30, and there's a couple guys that are in their 34s and 33s and all. It's just an incredible shock. And how do you deal with it? And they don't deal with it very well. Just like the people coming back fighting the wars, they don't know how to respond. They're not prepared for it, And
they train you how to do it, but they don't train you how to get back into the normal flow.
There's no question. I don't know that there's any place that's doing the right training. We need to respect the fact that people need the training. They need the help. They need the love and the support. It's a whole different shift for them.
The other thing I saw once in a documentary, which I thought was unique, obviously, is that the general trajectory of someone's income is you make more and more and more up until you're like 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
So you've now had 20 years of managing finance. You've had a lot of practice. You've had some experience. You've maybe gotten into debt. You got out of debt. And now we're going to make you the most responsible for this largest sum of money after you've and this is the opposite. This is flipped. It's like you're at your youngest. You have the least amount of experience. We're going to give you the most amount of money that you'll have in your whole life. And then it's going to go down from there.
Yeah.
So it seems like economic training would be helpful for the guys that are in this situation. Yeah.
You need everything you can think of. Anybody, it's not a football player. It's put anybody in
No, I agree.
Everybody is going to
first year lawyer, his top salary, and then let it go down from there.
That's right. Yeah. And you're going to be done 4 or 5 years from now or 6 or 8 years from now, and now you start over again.
You got a whole life ahead of you.
Yeah, fortunately, a lot of our guys get the financial help that they need, but a lot of them don't. Mm-hmm. And they don't all make so much money that they can live the rest of their life on. Fortunately, some of them do, and we see a lot of great stories.
Yeah. I got a family member through marriage who played like 4 years as a defensive lineman, and back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
And he's landed on his feet, which is impressive. But it's crazy.
It is really impressive. And those they need to be singled out and shown as examples that you can make it, because there's not very many illustrations for our guys to know how to do it, And there's guys on this really visible plateau, but they're not the real ones. They're the other ones, And so great challenge.
Now, and again, this is something I brought up with Michael, is in your pursuit of creating relationships, I have to imagine there is a temptation to go, you got to get with this program. Like, you got to click into this mindset. I imagine it's the most challenging line to be navigating or to delineate. When am I embracing who they are, talking to them in a manner that's going to be most effective for them and help them realize their goal? And when do I have to go, but you're on a fucking team and get with the program? I asked Michael what your rules are, and he says you basically have 3 rules. So let's just say you had this incredible run at USC, and then you go to the Seahawks, and you have another storybook run there. But I want to know about your 3 rules.
Always protect the team is about conscience. That's rule number 1 in the program. Always protect the team. That's to introduce them to a mentality that's necessary so that we can function and keep ourselves as strong as possible at all times. There's only 3 rules because they're so vast in what they cover. And so this is about their conscience. Wherever they go, whatever they do, can they always remember that they represent the Seattle Seahawks, and this is their team that they're representing. From the slightest example of helping a guy stay out of a fight on the field to in a bar, and somebody approaches them and keep them from getting in trouble there, to pulling them out of a scuffle on the field, to speaking to the media, to how you run your life, how you take care of your relationships that you interact with, and the people that we connect with. When we travel, how do we treat the people who fly us? Do we treat them with respect? You're representing us. You're always part of this team. That's to develop that consciousness, and it's really just like conscience.
Yeah,
you are us. So that's for rule number 1.
That's a general life philosophy that's helpful, which is you're a part of this organism. We all are as humans. We are obviously separated in our body, but we're one big organism, and it's helpful to.
The mentality wouldn't hurt in other areas.
Yeah. It's like you strive to keep extending that ring out.
So that's rule number 1. You're on it.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
Okay, so number 2.
No whining, no complaining, no excuses. That's one that I really swiped from Coach Wooden. That was one of his guidelines. It meant a lot to me. It had to do with mental toughness in a sense. Can you operate without telling somebody your sad story? Can you function by not saying disparaging things about what's going on? Can you understand that your sad story may affect somebody else's? Can you be tough enough about not doing that? Now, it also has to do with just making excuses. So if you're a rule number 2 violator in our program, you could do it on a million different levels, about making an excuse for something and that we're, whatever. And so that to me is really important about our self-talk. I get to talk about self-talk here because in explaining rule number 2, the words that you say are so powerful and your actions basically follow what you say. And so let's be mindful of what we're doing here. Let's control this variable that could take us down a negative road that we don't want to go. As a team, in a locker room, as we travel, but for yourself too.
Yeah.
Let's get your words together and let's make sure that you understand how powerful positive self-talk and affirmations are in the way you converse and communicate and all that. So,
yeah. I would also like to say, because Monica and I both this year's New Year's resolutions was less complaining.
No, that was yours.
Well, yours was to stop saying you're busy.
I'm busy.
Yeah.
Just similar, I guess.
Same world.
Yeah.
And what I have found is that, in the sense that you find what you're looking for, if I'm in a pattern of complaining or finding something that was bad about an experience, I now look for it. And in looking for it, I find it. Excuses and negativity, they begat that because you're looking to confirm the story you're telling yourself.
And behind all of this, too, is optimism. I don't want to go the other way. I want everything about our program to be built on what could be, what can be, not on what is happening and what may be, negative that could draw us or why we should be down as opposed to all of the hope and the positive thoughts that you can have. That reigns in the program. You can't say something kind of off the cuff, cruddy, and not be called on it, and to some extent, So,
Michael was saying they have fun outing each other for that.
Yeah,
like if someone says
that's
something.
part of it. That's part of it. We try to catch ourselves so it governs itself.
And I got to say, I was so delighted your meeting went long today because the one rule I knew already was be early. And I got here at exactly on time. And I was like, fuck, I was going to get here early to show them. And then I was quite relieved you didn't catch me not being early. But tell me the difference between being early and on time.
Well, have you ever tried to be on time?
It's impossible, yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's impossible. That grunt is all it is. That's on time. So you can't do it. Be early is really important about priorities. But it's important about understanding where you fit in the world and how you play a part in everybody's world around you. And so we talk about it in terms of prioritizing, getting organized, having a plan, knowing what you're up against, and being able to take the moments it takes to figure out how you can organize your world so that you can approach what's coming up early enough so that you can demonstrate the respect that whatever you're dealing with deserves.
It is a declaration, right?
It is truly a declaration. It's a declaration of respect. Yeah. So this is where I talk about respect, and I talk about respect everybody and everything around us. We don't ever pick and choose when to respect, because if you pick and choose, sometimes you're going to be wrong. You're going to disrespect. And so when I've asked guys about respect over the years, you try to talk about respect. Go ahead, go, Dax. What's respect?
For others or for myself?
I don't know. You try to talk about the word.
Okay, well, I think respecting someone else is recognizing that they, too, are going through something and that they're on their ride and that they're,
Okay, great. Monica, you do respect.
Okay, I think it's appreciating that there are other people on earth other than you.
Yeah, okay. So there's a million ways, and nobody can nail respect. It's hard.
Right.
I've asked tons of guys. They can't do it. So what we've done is we've taken the word regard and use how you regard something is how you demonstrate respect. And so if you see somebody that you don't think is important to you and so you don't give them the time of day, you're demonstrating a level of regard that really represents how you respect that. And if you see somebody that, I get to meet Dax, and I'm on my best game and I'm fired up and I'm there early, I'm dressed up right and all that, you're demonstrating how you regard, how you feel about that. Well, once we started talking about regard, it started to make sense to us. So it's the actions that you take that demonstrate how you feel about whatever you're dealing with. For instance, how do you regard your opportunity to play for the Seattle Seahawks? Do you do everything in your power to put yourself in the best position, to be at your very best, to demonstrate that this is the most important thing in the world to you right now, and you'll take in everything that you can possibly take in to make sure that you ensure that?
Yeah, that your actions are reflective of that.
Yes, and so it takes us to the point of discussing respect in regard to self-respect and self-regard. How do you feel about yourself? Do you regard yourself highly enough that you will put yourself in the best light, or are you willing to be bullshit? Are you willing to show up late? Are you willing to not put your best foot forward in jeopardizing your opportunity? That demonstrates low level of self-respect. Guys that don't really care, we know now. They tell us if you just watch and listen,
Right.
Those that do really care and they want to give their best shot, they want to really give every opportunity, make it available to them, they hold themselves in high regard. And so they have a lot of self-respect.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the way we use it. And so it's a really cool thing for us in and around the environment that we're in.
Well, I love it because it transcends that environment. That's dating. That's relationships. That's people. I often say this, like, people date other people with the same self-esteem as themselves because whatever level they think they're worth, they find someone who has a similar value of what they think they deserve to be with. And it's kind of back and forth. So it's like, if everyone you date is a loser, guess what? You're the common denominator and, you think you only deserve that. And it's all kind of one big circle.
Yeah. As simple as it is, it's kind of like, okay, be early. Yeah, what's that mean, But there's a ton to it and the way we see it. So I don't know. That's
I dig it. Okay, so at Seattle, again, you come in there and you win the first Super Bowl in that franchise's history. You guys go, 13-2 or something the second year? 13-3.
Yeah.
And you become one of only 3 coaches ever to win a college national football championship and a...
in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, he's like an EGOT.
Yeah.
In Hollywood, if you've won an Emmy, a Grammy, a Tony, and that's called an EGOT. There's very few
There's
EGOTs.
like 5 people who have it.
So you're the equivalent of the EGOT. You have an online platform, right, called Compete to Create that you and Michael do. And how do people use it? What's it for? Why did you think you discovered something that could be useful to organizations?
Well, just over the years, we recognized that people were drawn to the stuff that we do and how we do it. And I sensed that a while back and tried to figure out how to convey what we do to other people because they were asking about it. How we put it in a format that you can share it with somebody. And so, but when I met Michael had such discipline to himself and such understanding about performance, and we connected on so many different levels that I thought maybe this would be a chance for us to find a way to blend what we think and what we believe in and make an offering to other people.
Like a curriculum?
Yeah, and create a curriculum that would be available to people so if they want to understand this more fully, they could. And, we were reinforced by so many different people that would come to us and want to spend time with us. My favorite one was Steve Kerr. He came in, he was just going to start up as a new coach and he wanted to, I don't know why he picked us, but he came in and sure, come on, hang with us for a few days, and
by the way, there's a guy who worked for the Buddha. right? He worked for Coach Phil Jackson.
He worked for Phil, and he had some great relationships with other coaches. He had on all the winning and all the other stuff too, and it was fantastic.
I'm just saying for you, a little bit of feather in your cap.
Yeah,
the guy was
I'm not. He had the wisdom to try to figure out, I need to get organized, and get my act together because I'm going to go coach the Warriors. And I don't know, he never coached a team of any sort. Here he is on the top of the heap. Anyway, but that's just an illustration of a guy who he kind of took what he took out of it.
Yeah.
And now he's an advocate kind of in certain ways, but he's totally done his own thing, which is great and awesome. All of those kinds of examples for us just made us more powered in wanting to find a way. So we have an online course that we offer. We're doing some really good things, and we're helping people find their best is really what we're trying to do. And there's so many more ways for us to continue to endeavor to figure this out. That's why I love that we're the Performance Science Institute at SC is part of us. We're having a chance to work through education too, and to share our ideas with people so that they can help themselves out. And so that's what we're doing. We're doing a lot of work with Microsoft. We've got some nice companies. We've had a number of big groups that work with us. And so hopefully it's a good thing.
Yeah. One of the things I found fascinating about it is him saying that, first you have to isolate what you think is possible. And I find that to be both daunting in its broadness and also liberating in that it's not going to be a standard someone else necessarily set. It's not going to be against another person. It's kind of be, what do you think your potential is? Let's plant a flag in that and let's aim towards that.
It's why we begin with self-discovery. Really, self-discovery is where you got to start. You got to find it, figure it out. It was at the essence of what happened to me in my coaching that I got beat down enough times where I just went back inside and locked myself in the room, and just like we're sitting in right here, and just had to figure it out, where I'm coming from, what am I all about? I'm going to get my ass kicked again, if I don't get my act together. I'm going to get my ass kicked anyway, but let's at least go out fighting and clawing it at our best. And so we start with self-discovery, which is so valuable. And whether it's self-discovery of the individual, self-discovery of your group or your corporation or your family, or it connects and it makes sense. The course in itself is really designed for an individual person, and then it's the teachings of all of it that can connect with big groups and all of that. So it's available, and we like that it's available for everyone.
And you have a book coming out.
Yeah, Audible experience has taken us. We're gonna come out here pretty soon. We've done the work, and now we got to get organized to get it revealed, and pretty fun.
That brings up my time management question. How on earth do you juggle these things? Really well.
Great
I don't know.
Let me quickly call your family and see.
No, really. It's just important for me to be active and doing stuff, and whatever kind of lights me up, I'm chasing. And there's so much out there, and I think it enriches what I'm doing anyway. So I think it's all part of the process of trying to figure out how to be really good at what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're so grateful that you took time out today. I know you had a super busy day.
You guys are awesome.
Oh, come on. Yeah. Never talked to a football coach. It's very exciting. I find you very inspirational. You're well-dressed. You're in great shape. Your skin is luminescent.
Come on, man.
If the other book doesn't take off, you need to do just kind of like a personal style and health book, something a little more vain.
Okay. Well, Glenn,
because if I look like you in 24 years, I'm going to be fucking doing backflips. So I'll be excited.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's just a number. It's just a freaking number. Keep running.
Well, you're the oldest coach in the league.
Yeah.
Does that fuck with you at all?
Only when people bring it up.
Only right now.
Like right now it is, yeah.
Well, I would have never thought it by looking at you if I hadn't read about
Thanks.
you.
It was really fun to talk with you guys.
Yeah.
Really
Well, you're inspirational. We love you. Thanks a lot for coming, and I hope we get to talk to you again.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I want to say good luck for today, but not good luck. Are you playing the Chargers?
Yeah, we're playing the Chargers tonight.
Yeah, so not good luck.
That's okay. Thanks.
And now my favorite part of the show, the fact check with my soulmate, Monica Padman.
Who are we fact checking today?
Pete Carroll.
Oh, Pete Carroll.
Petey Carroll.
No, I don't know about you, but as I've said, I have very little interest in football. I mean, I like to watch it when it's on, but I don't know the players and all this. I don't know many of the rules.
Sure.
So not unlike Elizabeth Gilbert, I was like, well, I recognize this person's very accomplished. Let's talk to them. I'm not super into football.
Yeah.
But it really transcended football in the most delicious way, right?
So many ways. Well, one, I also don't like football that much.
Right.
But I feel bad saying that because I have so many wonderful memories tied to football.
Yes,
college.
those UG games.
UGA. You can't stop saying UG.
GT.
Okay, definitely not GT. That's Georgia Tech. They're
No,
all
that's
rival.
extraterrestrial.
Yeah, but anyway, so I like love football in my heart,
Yeah.
but I don't ever really watch it.
Again, I love when I watch a game. I get really sucked in. I think it's great entertainment.
Yeah.
I just like if I won't know that I missed a game unless it's, the Rams.
Now, do you like watching by yourself? Like you'd be fine watching a football game by yourself in your house.
Yeah, during football season, generally on Sundays when I work out, down in the basement, I watch football.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, it's very inspirational because those men are so strong and fast.
That's true.
It could go the other way. It could almost be defeating. You're like seeing these superhuman men, and here you are lifting these measly dumbbells.
Well, that's glass half empty.
Yeah, I generally go glass half full.
You do. You have like Arnold Schwarzenegger in your gym.
That's right. Many pictures of him in his prime, and even one before his prime. The weirdest one I have of Schwarzenegger, of course, is the one where he was 19, and he was like 260. He was before he like really cut his body and made it proportional. He went through a whole phase where he really dialed in the proportions. But before that, he was just getting as big as possible. So the one that and you've seen it, he looks like he's 10 and he's on this enormous rhino body. It looks crazy.
It's odd.
But then his last Mr. Olympian or Universe, whatever one he won 8 times, the proportions they're
spot on.
Oh, the golden rule.
Yeah.
I mean, it is as even as it gets.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, we have different opinions about bodies,
Yeah, we do.
especially male bodies.
But does your ego work this way? I swing from abject insecurity to megalomania in 2 seconds.
You've said that about yourself.
So generally, when I look in the mirror, I stare around my navel and I think it's just too much fatty tissue around that area. Sure. And I'm really down on myself. And then occasionally I'll be lifting weights and I look at the picture of Schwarzenegger and I go, I'm almost there. Or I think, I almost look like him if the camera lens was correct. There's like no normal zone for my ego.
Interesting. I feel like,
Well, you just went through it. So like you just got pages for an audition.
Yeah.
And maybe when you first start reading it, you're like, I'm a piece of shit. I'm never going to get anything. I am not good at this.
Sure.
And then you could leave the audition going like, I just gave one of the best auditions ever. Do you swing that radically?
I don't think my swings are that wide.
They're not.
No.
Okay.
I don't.
They're not as bipolar.
I don't think I ever get to I killed it. I mean, I feel like, I did well, or I did what I was supposed to do, but I don't feel like I'm definitely getting it. I'm better than everyone else who came in here. I killed it. I blew everyone out of their hair's gone.
Right. But what about, let me make it a little more specific. What about when you didn't think you were going to get something, and then you get to set, and then you're acting with everyone else, and then you start comparing yourself to everyone else, and you go like, oh no, they're not better than me. Does that happen?
I don't think that would happen.
The disgusting comparison game.
Yeah.
This is an ugly topic.
Yeah.
I'm really pulling back the curtains.
Well, it's okay. That's what we do here.
That's how we do it.
That's what we do. Yeah, okay. I have had that experience. Not on set, like in life.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I have this experience where someone's a little bit on a pedestal, or there's like high expectations for a person, and then you're around that person, and I feel like, that person's...
You're more competent than that person.
Sure, or at least or it's just like, what's the point of all this? Like, we're all just the same. Mm-hmm. We're all the same.
Yeah. Would you say that your defining characteristic, your number one quality is your competency?
It's up there.
I think that would be
for
for me if I had to list.
For
like
me,
someone called me because you had behind my back applied for some other job, and then you were also silly enough to use me as a reference.
Yeah, well,
which you could.
It's hard because you're my soulmate and my dad and my boss.
Right,
so it gets kind of tricky.
But you would be wise to know that even if you double crossed me, I would still speak very favorably.
Well, that's the dad and soulmate part.
Yes. So I would say, I think I would go like, listen, you're not going to find a more competent person. You can pretty much task her with anything, whether she's ever tried it before or not, and she'll figure out how to get it done.
That's very nice.
Because just to say someone's smart, I think smart's a little bit of, dime a dozen. Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
When there's a lot. There's a ton of smart people.
I don't even really know. To me, what does it even mean? Like smart? Because sometimes people call me that.
Yeah.
And I don't really know how to respond. Because I feel like, not really. I just think about things. Maybe I'm thoughtful. Like when people say that, I don't really know how to take that in. Because I'm like, I don't think that's really true.
Well, it's definitely true. All the different ways we would measure your.
I didn't go to a unifile school or anything.
Well, but you went to a good school and you did great there, and you left high school with a 4.0 or roughly.
No.
Listen, you're very smart. I thought you were going to go a different direction.
Oh,
with it,
what?
Which I could see, like, you're smart as a compliment. Sam Harris talks about this all the time. It's like, there's nothing you can take credit for. You're just born smart or you're not. There is a variation in intelligence, and you're just born with it. It's not like you earned it.
Right.
So it's a tricky thing. It'd be like if someone said, you're tall, and I said, thank you. Like I had willed myself to be 6'2" and change.
Well, you probably should say thank you.
You're welcome.
It probably is.
Maybe go straight to you're welcome. And then the more you think about it, there's really very few compliments you can accept.
Yeah, like when people tell you, this isn't for me, but like for other people, if someone tells them they're so pretty, I feel like that must be hard to take too, because I mean, you have to say thanks.
Sure.
It's a big compliment. I mean, oh man, it's always what you don't have, right? I'm dying for that to be the compliment everyone gives me.
Me too. I just want to hear you're hot. I could accept you're dumb and lazy and have a shit personality, but you're hot as hell.
I know.
This is the dream scenario. If someone goes like, oh, you know that guy Dax? He's fucking dumb, but man, I'd like to fuck him. You know, my theory is anytime you end the sentence with I'd like to fuck him, it just negates whatever thing was said first.
Yeah.
For us, for you and I.
That's
but for a hottie, if he or she heard they're dumb, but I want to fuck them, that'd be very triggering for them.
Well, sure.
Yeah. Then,
Which is
like, oh, my
understandable.
only value is my looks. But you and I want our only value to be our looks.
Yeah, but I don't want, no. I'm not going to go that far. I don't want it to be my only value.
Well, what if you had to pick a singular value?
I mean, can I start now?
Yeah.
So it's like I've already lived my life with some other experience. If I was getting to pick now, then I'd switch into a looks category. Because then I've already experienced some of the other kinds.
Right.
But look,
I guess
do I want my kid to be hot or so interesting? Of course I want them to be so interesting.
Yes, for them. But for us, our selfish little piggies.
But look, I'm different from you. I don't need that person to say I want to fuck her.
Sure, ours is different.
Ours is definitely different in that way.
Yeah, in a very conventionally male-female way, probably.
I think I want them to say,
I'd love to stare at them at dinner.
Yeah, or I want to marry them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
I want to
them.
marry you.
Not them. I mean, they would be saying them.
There'd be
My
many.
boobs.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
What if a man said, I want to marry your boobs? Would you like that? I kind of feel like that would be cool. Again, that could be a male-female thing.
Yeah.
Because if a gal said, I want to marry your penis, I find that very flattering.
Sure.
Well, she's like, we can play it loosey-goosey with you, but just, I want to marry your penis.
Well, listen, I think this is also a big male-female difference. You associate your penis with your identity.
That's right. Yeah.
And I do not associate
Your boobs.
my boobs with my identity at all, other than something I've had to overcome. And like, it's hard to wear good clothes.
Right. But some women have incorporated their breast size into their identity for sure. Especially if they get a giant augmentation and it becomes like a real, advertisement for them.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. But I don't have that.
No.
So if they wanted to marry my boobs, I'd probably be like, keep on walking. Anyway.
Anywho, Pete Carroll.
So Pete.
Captain Pete Carroll.
Anyway, yeah. So that morning the morning of my birthday.
Birthday morning.
Yes. I was on a run before I came here to interview Pete. And I was running and I was like, ugh, I hate this. I hate running. I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to stop early.
Uh-huh.
And then I was like, no, just, you can do it. I was just
Power
pushing
through.
through. And then I started thinking, I was like, I think a lot of that discipline comes from cheerleading. And I'm so grateful for that.
Yes.
In general, that discipline, not even just with physical stuff, but I think a lot of that has to do with like always having to push and be accountable to other people.
Mm-hmm.
As I said before, I have high expectations for other people, and I think that's why.
Yeah. You're right, because unless you do some kind of sport, like in gym class, you're not going to actually be forced to test your mettle or go beyond your limits.
No.
But in when I played basketball,
Yeah.
doing killers and shit, I would have never done killers in my life. Suicides?
Yeah.
Did you call them back and forth?
Suicides,
Yeah. I would have never had that experience. Why would I willingly make myself super uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I have a friend who's a trainer to the Stars.
Oh, sure.
Duffy.
Sure.
Yeah, and he told me, I won't say the actor's name, but he was training a certain actor, and he said, I don't think he's ever had any physical activity, so we're starting really from zero. So he was basically like his junior high basketball coach. Like, you gotta go, you gotta push
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The point is to be uncomfortable.
Yeah. So anyway, so Pete is like he is the person that gives that to other humans all day long.
Right.
It's cool.
I really wish he had seen Last Chance U. I love Last Chance U. This the current season is phenomenal. And that coach, who I like, I think that he's got these amazing qualities. He's white, and he's from South Central, and he grew up around all black folks. So he really knows how to communicate with kids that have come from a really rough area. But he yells a lot, and he uses a lot of these techniques that just...
You don't think...
Forget everything else. It becomes that like torture debate,
Yeah.
Which, I may feel differently about torture if it worked, but there's so much evidence that it actually doesn't work.
Yes.
That you don't get the truth from it. You just
Yeah.
get a series of lies they think you want to hear.
Yeah.
Similarly, I don't think that screaming at everyone and shit yields results. It certainly wouldn't for me.
I know. I guess it's just different personality types. Like, I bet some people do really thrive off of that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a sick, almost like a masochistic thing.
I feel like if they had like a dad that like yelled at him and pushed him, but then gave him his approval, that there's some that feels familiar and nice. But if you didn't, for me, it's so foreign to have a fucking man just scream at you.
I know.
It's not for me.
I mean, I guess there is something sort of exciting about someone's approval that's hard to have.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so that's sort of what they're displaying. Like, I hate you. And then eventually they turn.
Yeah.
And it feels really good.
Well, did you watch the Lake Placid Olympics documentary about the hockey team?
No.
And then it was made into the movie Miracle.
Oh, I didn't see either.
And famously, like at that time still, we only let college athletes play in the Olympics. There was no professionals. Now it's all professionals.
Yeah.
But then it was still a collective of college athletes that beat Russia, which was impossible. And those were professional players.
Mm-hmm.
And that coach was kind of celebrated for, his whole plan was always to unite them against him. So he was willing to be the asshole that everyone hated to unite them.
Interesting.
So I guess there's that version where it seems like it worked. I think you need a polytechnical approach where it's like you're adjusting for everyone's personality, which sounds like what Pete does. Like maybe he gives the guys who need that, tough love shit and supports others who thrive off that.
Yeah, I mean, I do think the best thing you can do is engender some sort of feeling that the team is one.
Right.
And however you do that,
Yeah.
I think that's the real key.
Well, that's his rule number one. Always protect the team.
Yeah, that's right. That's an important factor because it doesn't really matter what the coach is pushing you to do. You'll push yourself if you feel like these other people need me to do that.
Depend on you, yeah.
Yeah. I miss it.
Yeah. You should find your way back into some kind of competitive something.
I'm gonna.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to think on that this week. What options are there for you?
Crosswords. I'm not going to be good enough at that, though.
No.
I need to be good at it.
Right. It's too late in the game to become competitive at crosswords.
I want to start learning piano. I don't think I should get competitive because I'm just about to start learning.
Yeah. Might be a little early to be competitive.
To jump ahead.
Unless we started at the same time.
Oh, and then we'll get competitive with each other.
Yeah.
That sounds like it's a good plan for us. Okay, so some facts. There actually aren't that many facts. Oh, well, this just reminded me because he said that he worked at his football coaches. He coached those Pop Warner kids and stuff, and I did that. We were forced to do that. In high school, we had to coach the rec league kids.
Oh, in cheerleading?
Yeah, we were assigned a grade. There was a horrible incident that happened.
An injury?
No. Did
you sexually assault someone?
No, but I mean, pretty much worse. This girl, it's so
good.
sad.
We found one.
It's really bad.
This is the kid I punched who I knocked the wind out of?
It's really bad, yeah. So these are like 8-year-olds probably.
Let it out.
She has
this feels like
this girl.
Handmaid's Tale when you're in the center chair.
Yeah. Shame.
Guilt, sin.
So this girl was 8-ish, and me and my friend, my other cheerleader friend, were their coach, and she was in rec league, and I think her mom drove the school bus, and and she had a huge mole.
Okay.
On her leg, maybe? I don't remember where it was, but it was exposed.
Okay.
And it was huge.
Distracting.
And it had a lot of hair.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow, even at 8.
Yeah. It was a real sight.
It was an eyesore?
Yes. And she was obviously not like cool. And these were, young cheerleaders, so a lot of people were cool.
Popular, yeah.
Your face.
I have a mix, I think, of supporting you and telling the story, and then just feeling really sad already. Just that the mom's the school bus driver. That's a tough row to hoe in school.
I wonder if I made that part up. I hope I did. I really hope I did. I don't think I did. I think her mom was the bus driver.
Okay.
And she had a not cute mole and
a barnacle.
She just didn't fit in.
Right.
And you have to like stunt. And so you have to kind of, I think people had to like touch her mole.
Oh, okay.
No one wanted to. Anyway, me and my friend were talking about it.
Okay.
In a not favorable way.
Yeah.
And she heard.
Oh.
Which we didn't know.
Okay.
It came up like our coach told us.
Oh, boy.
Hey, there's this situation.
Yeah.
We weren't like, it was extra bad because we weren't getting in trouble.
Right.
It was just like.
Be more private about these.
Yeah, like this happened and what happened. And we were like.
Did you deny it?
I think at first we were like, no.
Sure.
We didn't no, that wasn't us. Or maybe we were like, no, we were saying.
It's beautiful. And use it as a knob. Like, it's a great opportunity to really get a hold on her when she's flying. What you want to do is this will be muscle memory. You feel that knob, you grab on it, and you're never going to lose her.
Calling it a knob.
Oh, man.
Use it as a knob. Anyway, and then we talked with her mom, the bus driver.
Oh, you had to talk to mom.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was. I don't think I've ever told anyone that.
Yeah.
It was awful. It really was horrible.
Yeah, I think I can't imagine any of us don't have those memories. Like, because I was inclined to go like, oh, well, I was big and I was fighting a lot. So maybe it was just me that I hurt someone and I feel terrible about it. But I think everyone has gotten ensnared in some shittiness to someone else. It's like almost impossible to make it through your life without being a shithead.
Hopefully you
And again, that's how you learn.
Yeah.
You probably felt terrible, right?
Yes. Oh my God. Well, I felt so many things. I felt terrible.
Mhm.
And I also felt so scared. I was like, oh my God, I did something really bad.
Uh-huh.
I feel guilty. And also I feel like, oh, my life is ruined. I'm probably going to get kicked off this cheerleading squad.
Yeah. Your whole life was ending.
Yeah. And the mom was nice to us.
You and I are both prone to feel like our whole life is ending. I wonder again if
Yeah,
that's
that's true.
broadly universal or not. What if people think like these little indiscretions are going to take the whole thing down?
Yeah. That's a really good question. I don't think everyone does feel that.
Yeah, I guess it presumes that like you have something you want to keep to begin with, which may be
Stakes
a
are
unique,
feel high.
yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys apologize to the girl?
I think so.
Maybe.
I know. I mean, we apologized to the mom.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember. I don't know. I think we did. I'm sure we had to.
This is one of those, real murky kind of topics, which are you don't want to perpetuate something, and yet it's your kid. So, I always bring up the fighting thing. Like, what if your kid was getting picked on?
Yeah.
Would you say punch them? It's clearly wrong, but what's wronger?
Yeah.
Part of me wants to go like, oh, I wish she could have just got the mole removed, because you're asking a lot of 8-year-olds to not care about a mole.
I know.
It's yes, it would be ideal if the 8-year-olds didn't care, but then you also have to be realistic about the world we live in. So it's like, should you get this mole removed? I certainly would.
I know.
But I don't know if that's the evolve moving in the right direction. Like, oh, that's just their cross to bear and it'll build character. I don't know. It's complicated. I just know my heart would snap in half if Lincoln came home and everyone's talking about a mole on her leg. I mean, it would hurt me so much more.
I know.
Even Lincoln with these stitches, you've seen me with injuries. I could give a fuck. I don't care if I got a sling or I'm getting operated on. I don't care at all. Her stitches in her finger, when she touches them, my stomach turns. I'm like, I'm so nervous about her hurting herself.
Yeah. Nice to care that much about someone.
Yeah.
I feel really bad about that girl.
Yeah. That's okay. That's all
what
part
if
of
she's
it.
dead now or something?
No, she's probably the governor of Georgia.
Okay.
Again, it could be like dyslexia. It's probably like defined her. If she found her confidence and was like, fuck this world. This mole's a superpower.
Yeah. I hope she just got it removed.
Yeah, that too.
It wasn't really a mole. I mean, it was, but it was
A
like
growth more?
kind
like a
of
tumor.
It was kind of like a tumor that had a pigment.
Okay.
And
so it was like a hyperplasia with some malignant tumor-esque qualities. Oh, man.
Oh, my God.
You know what's funny is you got to just kind of like, first you feel guilty and you feel mad at yourself that you're so shallow, right? That's how I feel. When I'm like judgmental if someone's got like tons of flakes all over their eyebrows or something, I become aware of it.
Yeah.
And then I'm mad at myself, right? But I do imagine there has to be some evolutionary thing where it's like, we have a biological response to be afraid of someone that seems to be carrying a disease or has something infectious. I really think that's what it stems from.
True.
That's why throw up smells so much grosser than anything else to people.
Yeah.
Because there's poison in the throw up, and that's why they threw up. So you want to be repelled by it.
Yeah.
So,
Not to me, but.
or even like lameness, right? I don't even know if that's the word you can use anymore, but like if kids born with a, bum leg or arm, I think evolutionarily you're like, oh, that's a liability to all of our safety.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think you need to beat yourself up that you have those feelings. You have to overcome them.
Definitely.
But I also don't think you need to shame yourself and be so mad and disappointed with yourself that that's your knee-jerk reaction to these things. I think it's kind of hardwired in us.
Yeah, it's like, but you can be judgmental of your action after the thought.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what really makes me sad about the story is like, I think we were just talking about it because it was like fun to talk about somebody else in, the same thing everyone does all the time where they want to talk about other people to make themselves, I guess, feel better.
Sure.
And it was like we were on the cool team.
Right.
We didn't have a huge mole.
Yes.
And
yeah.
I probably felt like, oh, well, thank God I don't have that because
Well-
I have all these other things I don't like.
Yeah. Like your whole skin color.
Yeah.
Well,
and face.
this is the thing that's recommended in the broken ladder, which is down comparing. I mean, that's basically what you're doing.
Oh, but I wouldn't recommend that. I don't think it's good to do that. It also is like so stupid. Like,
Yeah, it's just interesting though. But well,
Well, hold on. Down compare, not in a mean way, but it is good. Like, I'm always saying on here that I'm a 6 or I don't like how I look. And then so when I think about, oh, yeah, I could like how I look less and I should be grateful. And so it could lead me to having gratitude ultimately.
Yeah, that's
I guess it's a shame our brains work that way. You need to find something,
Yeah.
someone with a worse plight than yours to enjoy your station.
Okay, so how many people have EGOTs? I said like 5 people have them. 15 people have them.
Oh, 15.
Yes, but more than 40 performers are just 1 away.
Oh.
Yeah, including Richard Rodgers, Rita Moreno, Audrey Hepburn.
Well, she's probably not going to get it.
She won't be able to get it. But Mel Brooks, Cher, Kate Winslet, Viola Davis, Common,
Ooh.
Helen Mirren, Lin-Manuel Miranda, Dick Van Dyke, Julie Andrews, Lily Tomlin.
Yep.
These are some of the people. Anywho, so there might be a big influx of EGOTs
Yeah.
soon.
It could get even less exclusive.
Yeah.
15, that's higher than I would have thought.
Ever? It's not very much.
But how do people win a Grammy?
Well,
like if you're an actor,
Sometimes you can win them in
in kind of dicey ways.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, like even Zach Braff won one, I think, for...
Oh, he did?
Yes, for the soundtrack of...
of Garden State?
Of Garden
That was a
State.
great soundtrack.
It's a great soundtrack. It's just when I think of Grammy winners, I think of people who write amazing music, not people who curate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can win them for like audio books or like audio something.
Oh, so we might win one.
I mean, I'd like to.
Wow, you could be inching towards an EGOT.
At least nomination. I could be the EGOT nominations. So not winner, but I have an Emmy nomination.
I know.
So then maybe I'd get I could just strive for the
yeah.
nomination. I don't think I'm
And they would introduce
win.
you as like Monica Padman, EGOT nominated.
That's
because they'll
right.
say that in trailers, Academy Award nominated. Yeah, that stays with you too, just the nomination.
Yeah, I like that. I'm happy with that.
Lake was really upset with me that I didn't submit for the Emmys.
Yeah, I'm upset with you.
We were like tried to sort that out for 5-10 minutes, and then ultimately I just landed on like, I don't enter pageants. What do you think of that? Like, this is as simple as this.
But
I don't
you enter race car
I don't
races.
enter pageants. Yeah, but a race, it has an objective winner. Someone crosses the finish line first. It's real.
That's true.
And this is like, I don't know, do people like you?
But I guess the question is like, what's the I understand the mentality of like, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
It's all subjective anyway.
Mhm.
Doesn't really matter. All that's true.
Yeah.
But it doesn't hurt you to do it. So why like make that your cause?
I am so critical of it. I would feel hypocritical if I was both so critical of it and then also participating.
Right.
You know? Like I'm so regularly like, that's horseshit. How is such and such not in there? That's in there. How is it that the best supporting actor always goes to whoever the most famous person was who did a small role on something that year? Just all these things that I never agree with.
Yeah.
And then, I'm self-critical enough to recognize, that might be my way of going, well, of course I never got nominated for one. I didn't submit.
I didn't care enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, am I building in an excuse to have never been nominated? But I don't think it's that.
Okay.
Like, I really explored that.
Yeah.
And I can just say with full honesty, if there was an Emmy sitting on this fucking credenza over here, I wouldn't care.
Yeah. I don't think I would actually care. I mean, it's really fun to win, and in the moment it's fun, and it's like, but then who cares? But I do think a nomination feels actually good.
Like you become accredited?
It feels like recognition.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody noticed I did something well, or somebody noticed I worked hard. Or somebody noticed is a feeling that I like.
Yes, but
Not
I totally agree with that. But I get that from, I just told you the other day, it hit me for the first time in the table read in front of the network, like, oh, these people entrusted me to be one of the leads of this show. Whether I think I am deserving of it or not, these people all voted and they're in charge and they said I was. So that to me was that moment.
Yeah, that's a great moment.
That I felt like, this is not an accident or anything else. The accidents don't really happen like this.
Right.
Yeah. And so that part, is nice to recognize. The only reason I would want to win one is just to make the speech, because I'd love to talk in public about people I love. So I would want to talk about all the people I love.
That's the part I would not be excited about.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. I mean, I like talking about people I love, but not in
speech front of
format where you're already it's so emotional.
I can pinpoint a single experience where I was like, why are we participating in this? It was at the Golden Globes last year where Kristen was nominated. And we are seated at a table.
Right.
And the tables for the people nominated for television are on the back tier. And the people nominated for movies are in the center on the ground floor, which is fine. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
But then there's actually a whole bit about it where Jim Carrey doesn't want to sit in the back TV row, even though he's now on a TV show. And then they kick him to the nosebleeds.
Right.
And then it just so happens that they picked our table to sit him at for the bit.
Right.
So Jim Carrey's like, oh shit, okay, I'll go sit with the losers, and then sits at our table. And I'm like, why are we participating in this bit where
feelings a little bit?
Well, no, I was just like, oh, this is so high school. For this to even be a bit that makes sense and works and is funny, it has to be true. And it is true. So why are these people got like dressed up and spent hundreds of dollars getting their makeup done and thousands on outfits to go be delineated as second class in this whole high school contest?
But I don't think it's true.
Do you think it could be remotely funny if it wasn't true?
Yes, because I think that's like the idea that there are these separate tiers is so ridiculous that it's funny. I think that's
it was physically happening. All the people on the bottom were in movies.
Right. Which that's so stupid.
Yeah, so it's not like a hypothetical. It really is how
it's what's happening, but I think what's being called out is that's absurd. Not like this is the way it is and that person's not allowed to sit there, ha, ha, ha. It's not that. It's like, how dumb is it that there are these separations?
Well, right, and yet there are. It is dumb and it is true.
Yeah, but no one, also now, what? All those people are on TV shows.
Yeah, it's just weird to for her to have gotten nominated, which is so sweet and wonderful, and I'm so happy for her, and then to arrive at a place and go, oh, but I'm not that. Like, there's still another thing.
Yeah, but
that whole circus of ego and status and ranking, I just object to that stuff.
But I think, yes, I agree, and I do too. And also, it's how every person takes it, because I don't know, but I don't think I would care about that at all. I don't think you would the first 5 years you went. Yeah.
But I think on year 15, you'd be like, oh, we're all being duped. They're giving away these little awards. So everyone agreed to come and and give these people a really, really expensive night of television for free because our egos want us to participate and win and be recognized and be officially knighted as being in this group.
Totally.
And then these smarter people are just getting this crazy TV show out of it where they could never get all these actors in one place for under $1 billion.
Yes.
They're like, hey, let's just give them this fucking piece of metal and they'll all come.
Yeah.
That the cynic in me feels that way a little bit about it.
I get that.
This is not to take away anyone who's won an Emmy. I'm proud of them. And a lot of people deserve those things.
Yeah.
And I genuinely, on top of all this, let me just say, I don't really think I'd ever get nominated anyway.
I do.
So it's just like a $15 I don't need to spend. It's $15 or something to submit, maybe even more. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to see you get recognized.
You would?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. But I get recognized on here.
You do. That's true.
Yeah, and this is way more rewarding than getting recognized.
I mean, I think part of it for me is just like, if you know all this is so stupid. Mm-hmm. So, sure.
Yeah, that's the easier going way to just roll through life, I think.
I don't know. I also don't go to these things, so maybe I would feel very, very differently if I did go once with Kristen and I did hate it.
Right,
That's
right.
why I guess I will.
Then they put you a chair in a weird spot for you, and everyone's eating, and you didn't get
that
any
wasn't
food or
there.
anything.
That
Oh.
was at some other gala or something.
Oh my god!
That
See,
was awful.
but that's kind of my exact point. Just by the pure premise of the thing, there has to be people sitting in a chair that don't get food. It's just like
Why though?
Because it's a sword. There's two edges to it. To be like hoisting all these people up to this elevated level, it just has to demote everyone else that's not those people.
Yeah, that's true.
And then there's these limited resources, whether it's space at a table or food that are going to get assigned to the more important people. It all seems to me a little unhealthy.
Yeah, the idea. I hate the idea of more important people.
Yes, and the reward is you get paid a lot of money to fucking play around on a set. That's your reward.
Yeah.
You know, we don't need another. You know who needs an award is roofers.
Yeah.
They need a banquet and an award.
You know, I was thinking this on set. We were on set this week. And yeah, I struggle so much with all of that. Your place and
The hierarchy.
yes. And then I was looking at the stand-in. And I was like, oh my gosh. So the stand-in, if people don't know, is the person that while they're lighting, they stand there so the actor does not have to stand there.
While they fix all the lighting
Well,
and fine-tune the cameras.
Yes, which can be like an hour of just standing. And they're wearing the same clothes that the actor wears so that they can match the lighting. And they normally have the same color hair. They try to like match up as much as possible. The purpose of them is to stand and be overlooked and do something that is not worth someone else's time. And I was looking at this person and I was like, that is the most egoless job I've ever come across.
Yeah. Let's add to it because I was just thinking this week. Lake and I had a bunch of bed scenes where we're like, she's laying on me looking at a computer. And the stand-ins had to like lay on each other, but they don't have the benefit of like lines and interaction. So it's like if Lake and I were just laying on each other, it would be so fucking awkward. But we're in a scene and we're talking and then we're doing all
Acting.
this. Yes. But to just be like laying on a stranger for an hour, I was like, that's got to feel
literal
so
objects.
weird. Yeah,
like could be a mannequin. Like maybe, in my opinion, should be a mannequin. Like why are we making? And I guess it's like another job for somebody, but
That's right. Those people want those jobs.
but it's
Also,
not.
there's blocking, right? So they got to move quite
that's
often,
true.
and so they would need robots.
Well, I'd like robots.
You want
I
robots?
just don't think it's emotionally. How can that be good for that person?
Well, that's why Gervais was genius for creating that show Extras, because it really just went into how much awkwardness is in the stand-in world.
Anyhow,
Yeah, those people deserve an award.
they really do.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
really do. And they also like probably take a lot of pride in it, and they should.
And they're in the union, and they make a good wage.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they probably are making more doing that than they would be driving an Uber. Which,
Yeah. No, you're right. That's all.
That was all the facts.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There really weren't very many.
Well, we really deep dove into, would you say deep dived? This is like hanged and hung.
Yeah, this is.
Okay, we
we'll
really
never
deep
know.
dived into award culture unexpectedly.
We did. But not unexpectedly, because he is
A winning
man.
Yeah.
Super Bowl winning.
and a national college football
Yeah.
championship. One of 3 people. I just like when people with a kinder approach succeed. You know, I often think I'm not a big enough dick to be a good director.
What?
Because I don't yell at people either. You've been on set where I was directing.
Yeah.
I'm very
Yeah.
energized and excited and never yelling at anyone. And I forbid yelling at people
As a director.
as a director.
Yeah.
And I often think, well, I'll probably never direct anything great. 'Cause I think those people have to be dicks.
I do not.
Like you hear these stories about, well, they're just assholes.
That does not. Who feels emotionally comfortable in that environment? This isn't like sports. Like sports, at least you can use the screaming to like get physically angry.
Yeah.
That is in an acting situation. You're supposed to be vulnerable and
Yeah.
so no.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
I think they treat it like a military operation, some of these people.
Yeah, I don't need to work with any of those people ever. All right. Well, that's
That's our show.
our show.
I love you. Let's go on vacation.
Okay, love you. Bye.